Over the years, we have covered hundreds of games on our show. And you may be wondering, how do you get those games and what games do you pick to cover on the show? I'm going to let you know in this video. There are 4 ways that we get games on this show. The first way is a publisher will contact us and ask us, would you like to cover this particular game, review the game, talk about it, etc. When they do that, we need to make sure that the game will fit within our show if we have time to cover it. We also need to make sure it's something our audience may enjoy and something that we may enjoy too. After covering so many games, we know exactly what type of games that we like. So when we hear about a game, we can quickly decide, hey, that's something that we may be interested in, or it's like, no, we'll pass on that one. Now, lots of times the publishers have a long relationship with us to where they know exactly the types of games that will work well on our show. A prime example is Haba. So 8 or 9 years ago, when our kids were smaller, Haba makes a lot of great games for younger age kids or families with young kids. So they would contact us and they would say, we think this will work well with your family and your show and everything, and sure enough it would. But as they've gotten older, some of those games may not make sense. But Haba also makes family style games for not just kids, but any age. In fact, recently they reached out to us earlier this year and asked if we would like to cover a game called The Key. We got it, we played it, we absolutely loved it. Therefore, for those publishers that we've worked with in the past, they may kind of know what will work well before they even reach out to us. Now, once we say yes to doing it, we need to find out what the requirements are. Some publishers have like embargoes saying you can't cover this game before this certain date, or they may ask, if we send you this, can you cover it by a certain date? Now, lots of times that's by the time it goes to retail or it's available, etc. Once again, at that point, we have to look at our schedule, see if it makes sense. If we can, great, we'll take it. If not, we'll say no thanks, but let us know about the next one. Now, while this next point could be a video all on its own, I just want to let it be known now. Over the 8+ years that we've made this show, we've never accepted money to review a game on our show. And in fact, over all those years, I can only think of one time that a company reached out to us and said, hey, we have a game we'd like you to cover. How much do you charge for a review? And we let them know we don't take any money for reviews. The second way we get games to cover on our show, we'll reach out to a publisher and say, hey, we're interested in this game that you have. Can we get a copy to do a review on our show? See, we get excited about games too. And when a publisher announces a new game through a press release or email or something like that, sometimes we get really giddy. It's like, oh, we really want to try that. And we think our audience may like that too. So we'll reach out to a contact at the company and say, hey, this is who we are. If they don't know who we are, here's what we can do for you, and we can cover the game in this certain sort of manner, and then they can decide whether to send the game to us or not. And if they say yes, it will be a game that goes right towards the top of our queue, because we feel like if we reached out to them and they responded with, yes, we'll provide this to you, then we think it's one of those things that we should get on our show as quickly as possible to make sure that it gets the coverage that they would like to have. The third way we get games for our show, a game just shows up out of the blue. Because we worked with so many publishers, they have our mailing address, and sometimes they'll just send a game. Now, this is one of the situations that's the hardest to deal with, because sometimes a game may come in that we don't think will fit. We don't think it's a game that we'll like, or we don't think it's one that our audience is interested in. In that case, we typically reach back out to them if we have a contact and say, hey, we appreciate you sending this game. We don't think we can cover it on the show. Would you like us to send it back? Or even better, can we just mention about this game on our show? And if people want to find out more about it, they can come to your website, etc., without a full review, and then maybe give it away through a contest or something like that. But as I said previously, lots of publishers know exactly the types of games that we like, so they just may send us a game going, we know you guys would be interested in this, do you want to cover it? Now, there's not expectations that it has to be covered at that point. In fact, most publishers are really cool. It's like, we just want to send this to you. If you like it, you can cover it, great. If not, put it in a giveaway, donate it or something like that. And again, that's really going to depend on the type of publisher. There are a lot more content creators out there right now. So that doesn't happen as often because they have to be really careful with the review copies they send out. They want to make sure that the return on investment is that they send a game out, that people will hear about it and they can hopefully make some sales from it. And the fourth way we get games to cover on our show, we just go out and buy them. We're gamers too. Lots of times we'll be out the local game store and go, ooh, that looks cool, I want to check that out. Or, ooh, I've never played that before, that looks interesting, I want to get that and try it. And if it's something that we like, it may get on the show. Sometimes it may not, because lots of the games that I play personally are like living style games, like card games such as Arkham Horror, Marvel Champions. I'm all the time buying the latest expansions and investigators and new decks, etc. that I play all the time, but I may not talk about it on the show. Lots of times I do, but again, it's just one of those things like I'm invested in this game, I want to buy more of that game, and so I do it. Also, I'm into miniatures games, and I'll maybe go buy a new miniature, some new paint, etc., books for the game and everything like that. Lots of times I also talk about those experiences on the show. And also, there may be just a lot of older games out there that I never had a chance to play. So in that case, sometimes I'll just go out and buy the game and maybe bring it up on the show, such as, this is a game that we'd always wanted to experience. It's a classic game. Let us tell you about it and see if you want to go check it out now. Prime example of this recently is GMT games. I've started getting into coin style games. So I've been going out and picking up all these older games that came out 10 years ago, playing them, and then also talking about them on the show. That's pretty much it. Those 4 ways are the ways we get games to cover on the show. Now, if I haven't explained myself or something's not clear to you in any one of those 4 ways, please let me know in the comments and I'll answer each and every one of them. And if there's some other aspect of the show that you're wondering about, how it works, etc., please put that in the comments and I'll make a video about that also. Hey, if you got this far in the video, please like and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. That would help a lot. Thanks, y'all.